All right, so we're going to start this morning with a little quiz. All right, who knows who won the World Series in 1942? You don't have to shout it out, but if you know who won the World Series in 1942, raise your hand. I knew you'd know. All right, and who knows what the unemployment rate was in the United States in 1968? If you know what the unemployment rate was in the United States in 1968, raise your hand. Anybody? All right. Now, who knows that in 1942 the United States was engaged in World War II? Who knows that in 1968 the United States was deeply engaged in Vietnam? Right. Now, we all know those facts, and we also know that after World War II, there was a generation of veterans that came home and literally built this country, who served in senior leadership positions in academia, in the corporate world, in government, people who went back into their communities and built their hometowns. And we also, all of us who are here, know that there was another generation of veterans that came home from Vietnam who struggled to find their place. And many of them still today continue to struggle to find that place. When the history of this generation is written, when the history of our generation is written, people are going to forget about the Yankees and the Phillies. Maybe Paul will remember. Right? And people are going to forget about the unemployment rate. Right? But when the history of this generation is written, everyone is going to remember, right, that this is a decade during which our generation was engaged in war. And many of you have already played a role, right, on the battlefield as part of this generation. Right? And that history is going to be written one day. But the history that's yet to be written, and still hasn't been written, right, is the history that we're living. Right? And that's going to be the history of how this generation of veterans came home to become part of American society again. And you all know the facts. There are over 60,000 members of the United States military who have come home physically wounded already. Hundreds of thousands who have filed disability claims. Over 300,000 who have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So we have an enormous challenge ahead of us. But the fact is that while there are right now in the country many individuals who are out doing incredible things, there is right now in this country only one team of people who are working together to make sure that this country knows that every wounded and disabled veteran who comes home is not a problem but an asset. Right? And for us to be successful in that, it's going to take a whole community of people. Some veterans, others non-veterans, community leaders, engaged citizens, right? Because we have the opportunity right now to write this part of the history of our generation. And one of the things that you're going to find here today is that we have assembled an incredible team. And you all are part of that incredible team. We are going to succeed. We are going to make sure that this generation welcomes every wounded and disabled veteran home in a positive way. Now, we've got 3 objectives for today. Our first objective is that everybody's going to have a good time. All right? This is an incredible group of people. It'll be very hard not to have a ton of fun. All right? It's a wonderful group of people, and this is, you know, for us, not just an opportunity to work, it's an incredible opportunity for us to celebrate some tremendous achievements that we have here today. All right, so number 1, I want everybody to have a fun time. Number 2, right, as you guys all know, any individual by themselves, right, no matter how strong, no matter how smart, no matter how powerful, is weak. Right? But in teams, we can be incredibly strong. So we want to emerge from today as a much stronger team. Right? And what we can all do to make that happen is to make sure that you get to know everybody who's here. Get to know everybody who's here in this room. It's an incredible group of people. Right? And then third and finally is that I want you to leave today not just more knowledgeable about the mission continues, though that's going to happen, but also inspired to go back as fellows, as VOCs, as community leaders, to go back into your community and help us to build the mission continues. Because at the end of the day, as hard as it is, and I know from knowing many of your personal stories, I know how difficult this is. And I know how difficult it has been for many of you. Right? At the end of the day, right, what you're doing, right, no matter how difficult it is, it's about more than you. It's about more than us. Right? It's about all of those men and women right now today who are in the hospital wondering about what's going to happen to them. It's about all of those men and women right now who are waking up this morning not sure about what they're going to do. Who are going to bed at night not sure if they want to get up in the morning. Right? And this is the team in the country that they have to look to for inspiration. So let's be incredibly proud, right, of what we've already done. And let's leave here today with the confidence to look forward as a team, right, that we are going to shape the history of this generation. Right? And I'm incredibly proud to be here with all of you. And as a final note, in 1942, the St. Louis Cardinals beat the New York Yankees and were the World Series champions.
It's Chris Marvin. I was the first Mission Continues Fellow, thanks to Eric and Ken, when it still was in a living room on a couch.
But you didn't know it.
No, it was transparent. I was also one of the first VOCs, and then I eventually became full-time staff, and I was running the fellowship program. I'm not doing any of that anymore. I was, I guess, one of the first employees to leave the Mission Continues too. I'm getting my MBA at Wharton, and have been away for 3 months. And one thing that's inspiring is to come here after only being gone for 3 months, and to see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar voices putting with faces for the first time, and a lot of new faces, a lot of new stories, and a lot of new ideas. And you know, people like Tony and Mike and Lindsay coming in are inspirational. All the new fellows are inspirational. All the new VOCs are inspirational. And all the VOCs, fellows, staff members, board members that I have worked with are incredibly inspirational. I went around this room about 4 times and picked up about 20 different people that could be the person that inspires me. But I want to reserve that for someone who's actually not in the room, who really, really wishes, and that's our VOC. She's actually our national VOC, and she's in Nashville. Her name's Katie Wells. A few of you know her. She's not here because she's dealing with some health issues, but she'll be back to St. Louis. She loves it here. She loves all you guys, even if she doesn't know you. And she and I started as the first VOCs on the same day. And we talked on the phone, and I thought she'd been there for a long time, and she thought I'd been there for a long time. And we both found out that it was our first day, and we figured it out together. But she's a big reason why this organization is what it is, starting with getting people like Michael and people like Sonia to be fellows for us. And she deals with her own issues too, and she's just incredibly inspirational. That despite everything that she's going through, the one thing she wants to do is to be here, to be around you guys, and to volunteer with the Mission Continues. So, Katie Wells. If you don't know her, look her up.